guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be sculpting Martin Luther King, and we are going to be doing an homage to Trayvon Martin. Sounds a little bit weird, but let me show you what I'm going to be doing. I'm doing this sculpture in plasticine, and it's Trayvon plasticine that I've had for years, and I do like plasticine because I don't have to cover it. But I am not very good with casting, so there's always a bit of difficulty with it. You can see I'm just massing in the sculpture at this point, and I'm adding details. It's a little bit difficult to sculpt with this clay because it's so hard. Normally water clay is much easier on the fingers in the beginning. I usually determine where the eye sockets is, and then I start configuring the proportions of the head. And I am using quite a bit of reference from Martin Luther King. There's lots of images of him on the internet, and I avoid doing like little small details, but it helps to figure out exactly what the proportions are. And he has a very interesting face. As you can see here, I keep adding clay to the chin, and he has a very round face. Especially as he gets older, his face gets a little bit chubbier. And he has a very high hairline. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're sculpting Martin Luther King, because he has very distinct features, and his eyes always look like he's like sleepy. For me, it's always hard to get a likeness, but I keep telling myself the more I work on it, the better it's going to be. So you can see now it's starting to look a little bit more ethnic. His upper lid on his eye is almost non-existent, and I think that gives it a little bit of a distinction of being Martin Luther King. Sometimes I like to put a very strong side light just so I can see how dramatic it looks. But it helps to have better lighting than I have in my studio. As you can see, now I'm adding like some rods, like wooden rods, to support a little bit more of his torso, and I'm going to sculpt him using his suit. At some point I ran out of the Trayvon brown clay, and I had some green clay to use, so I had to use that. So it kind of looks like there's a weird blend of clay, but when you imagine that after it's cast it's going to be one solid piece, so you really don't have to worry too much about the color. I've been tending to use the scraping tools quite a bit to do detail and to like getting rid of imperfections. But in my last class that I'm taking at the Art League by George Tickablaze, he taught me a technique of using the backside of a tool to kind of model the figure, and that's helped me out quite a bit. And I highly recommend taking his class at the Art League if you have time. Now you can see a little bit better with the suit on. I removed the sculpture from the armature because I wanted it to be on the floor, so I knew how to do the molding, because I wanted to sit on a table. You can see me heating up the clay using just a little bit of a torch, but it's not really very useful. So at this point, now I'm starting to think how I'm going to do his hood. This is the Trayvon Martin hood that I'm sculpting at this point, and you can see I sculpted the head of Martin Luther King first, and then I'm covering it. So it's probably a bad idea to sculpt the hood at the same time as you do the skull. It's always best to, like, if you're going to model a figure, to model the figure in the nude and then add the sculpture on top. So I'm just adding clay a little bit at a time. You can see there's quite a bit of depth into the hood itself, which I heard is going to be difficult to cast. So I'm not even sure I'll be able to cast this thing, because I am not a very good expert in mold making. So I'm probably going to see if I can just leave it the way it is. And at this point, when I started to do the hood, I kind of wish I had done it in water-based clay. So one of the big benefits of the plasticine is that you don't really destroy too much of your studio. The clay doesn't just turn into dust. With water-based clay, it turns into dust, so you breathe it in, it gets the house more dirty, And I have a very small house, a very small studio, so I can't really make too big of a mess, and I tend to be a little bit cleaner because I have such a small space to work in. So at this point you can see I'm adding the final touches of the hood, and I am going to put the part where the string is for the hood as well. It just right at this point I'm just making sure I have the big picture done. You can see I put the string and now I'm just working some details. Alright, now we're coming to the end of sculpting the Trayvon Martin Luther King Memorial sculpture. It's pretty small, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.